Alright, welcome back. This should be my last episode doing this draft. We're halfway done with the 5th round. Got 2 more rounds after this. A lot of these players are going to be players that probably aren't good for the league. I don't know how any other way to say it right now. There might be a diamond in the rough. Maybe 1, maybe 2, maybe just maybe. But yeah, a lot of players here aren't going to be ranked too good. A lot of players that might not even make the team they get drafted to. But let's just get into it. The Panthers have the next pick. Who you got? A defensive tackle. That D-line. Alright, this is Mo Hurst. He was drafted by the Raiders. Now on the Panthers.
The Vikings are now on the clock.
The Ravens take a cornerback. Still got plenty of them left. So this is Tremont Smith. He got drafted by the Chiefs, so who knows, maybe his rating is pretty solid. Yeah, in real life he got drafted by the Chiefs, but now he's with the Ravens. Alright, the Vikings.
The Chargers are now on the clock.
They take a defensive tackle. This is Falorenzo Fatukasi. Falorenzo Fatukasi. He was originally drafted by the Jets. Now he's going to Minnesota.
The Jets are now on the clock.
So the Chargers, they take a halfback. So this will be Ronald Jones. Ronald Jones gets drafted by the Chargers. In real life, he was drafted by the Buccaneers. Solid pick for the second half of the 5th round. They got Lamar Jackson. They got Ronald Jones. All right.
The Packers are now on the clock.
Defensive linemen are going kind of crazy right now. This is Chad Thomas. In real life, drafted by the Browns. Not much of an upgrade as he goes to the Jets, but I don't know. They got Josh Allen as their QB now, so maybe it is a big upgrade.
The Titans are now on the clock.
Are the Packers. They take Natrell Jamerson, who was originally drafted by the Saints.
The Falcons are now on the clock.
Titans also take a defensive tackle, a defensive lineman. Still got a good 2 handfuls of these guys on the table. Okay, so this is R.J. McIntosh, who was originally drafted by the Giants. Now the Titans.
The Seahawks are now on the clock.
The Falcons take an outside linebacker. This is Oren Burker, originally drafted by the Packers. Going to Atlanta now.
The Dolphins are now on the clock.
The Seahawks take a wide receiver. So this ends up being Jaleel Scott, who was originally drafted by the Ravens. The wide receivers, there's a lot of guys that are getting skipped over here. But Jaleel Scott, originally drafted by the Ravens, now he's with the Seahawks. This guy was just one ahead of Marquise Valdes-Scantling, who I think is pretty decent.
The Steelers are now on the clock.
Ooh, the Dolphins take a tight end. This ends up being Tyler Conklin. He went to the Vikings in real life. Now he goes to the Dolphins. Tyler Conklin.
The Eagles are now on the clock.
Steelers take a halfback. Skipped over Royce Freeman. This ends up being Mark Walton, who was originally drafted by the Bengals, now by their division rivals, the Steelers. Mark Walton.
The 49ers are now on the clock.
Safety for the Eagles. Yes, our second to last free safety that I have written down. This ends up being Jordan Whitehead, who was originally drafted by the Buccaneers, now on the Eagles. All right, here's one of our picks. Who's it going to be?
The Chargers are now on the clock.
A wide receiver. Took a tight end we did take a tight end at some point. Oh yeah, we started this draft, we drafted like 3 defensive players. And then we took a tight end. Were we the first to take a tight end? I think we might have been. Yeah, so we got Hayden Hurst. So I think there were some better tight ends that went after him. And then we took a halfback and we got Nick Chubb. Pretty solid pick for when we got him. And now we take a receiver. We take this Underwood dude. Take this Underwood dude. No. This Underwood dude turns out to be Marquise Valdes-Scantling. That's crazy. I mean, I think that's going to end up being a good pick for a late 5 round. So we got Marquise Valdes-Scantling, Hayden Hurst, and Nick Chubb. Very interesting. All right, the Chargers.
The Jaguars are now on the clock.
They take a defensive tackle. This ends up being Justin Jones, and the Chargers got him in real life. They get him here. I think this is only the second time this has happened in this draft. Justin Jones.
The Saints are now on the clock.
The Jaguars get a left guard. This is the second to last left guard I have written down. This is Sam Jones, who originally went to the Broncos. Now with the Jaguars. And to end the 5th round,
The Redskins are now on the clock.
a left tackle. And it's the third left tackle that's now been drafted since I've ran out of left tackles. So that's probably a throwaway pick. That was most definitely a throwaway pick for you Saints. Yeah, that definitely is a throwaway pick for the Saints. The only thing I'm thinking, maybe I should do some research and make sure there was no left tackles that were undrafted but end up being very good, and maybe I can turn one of these left tackles that don't have somebody to be turned into that player. So let's just say Joe Blow was an undrafted left tackle this year, and he ended up making a team and being really good, really solid, like an 84 overall or something. Then I can make one of the players him. But the player I would probably make him is the first left tackle that didn't get turned into one during the draft, which would be who the Packers got. So right now the Saints are third on that list. I highly doubt there's three great left. I've already looked into free agents and no left tackle popped up. So it's just highly doubtful that any of these left tackles that have nobody to be turned into are going to turn into anything. All right, the 6th round. The Redskins kick us off again.
The Giants are now on the clock.
Left outside linebacker. Still got a handful of them. This ends up being Dorian O'Daniel, who was originally drafted to the Chiefs. Now with the Redskins.
The Bears are now on the clock.
The Giants take a wide receiver. This is their second wide receiver. And this guy's way down the list. This guy's at 28. This ends up being Ray McLeod, who was originally drafted to the Bills. Now he's with the Giants.
The Colts are now on the clock.
Bears get a right tackle for their O-line. This ends up being Alex Kappa, who was originally drafted to the Buccaneers. Now with the Bears.
Buccaneers are now on the clock.
The Colts take a cornerback. Moats. Well, they kind of skipped down. They skipped over a couple of dudes to get to this guy. This is Siren Neal, originally drafted to the Bills. To the Bills. Now he's with the Colts.
The Chiefs are now on the clock.
The Buccaneers follow him up with another cornerback. This ends up being DJ Reed, who was originally drafted to the 49ers. Now he's with the Buccaneers. Are the Chiefs?
The Bengals.
They take a cornerback. They end up getting Darius Phillips, who was originally drafted to the Bengals. Yeah, I've definitely noticed that like there's some positions that just go back to back to back sometimes in this draft. Like we just had 3 cornerbacks in a row. Still plenty of them left. So by all means,
The Lions are now on the clock.
the Bengals, they take a right outside linebacker. This is our third to last one. This ends up being Marquez Haynes, originally drafted to the Panthers. Now he's with the Bengals.
The Raiders are now on the clock.
The Lions take a wide receiver. Wide receivers are just jumping all around now. Some bird guy at 16, listed as 16th on in my notes here. He hasn't been drafted. 19 hasn't been drafted. 20 has, but 21 hasn't. 23 hasn't. 24 hasn't. 26, 27, and then 29 through 33. All right, this Mullins dude, he was written down at 21st. This ends up being Auden Tate. Auden Tate, originally drafted to the Bengals, now with the Lions.
The Rams are now on the clock.
The Raiders take a center. This ends up being Scott Quesenberry, who was originally drafted to the Chargers. Now he's going to a division rival in the Raiders. One of our division rivals now.
On the clock.
They take a left end. This ends up being Zach Seiler, who was originally drafted to the Ravens. All right, another division rival.
The Jets are now on
The
the
Cardinals take a halfback. Dude, jumped over a couple of guys to get to him. Jumped over Royce Freeman and Nyheim Hines to end up getting Kalen Ballage, who was originally drafted by the Dolphins. The Jets
The Texans are now on the clock.
with a left end. I think they just took a left end that, yeah, they just took a left end that I don't have written down. So I just have to put that in my notes. I had one left and left, but they didn't take that one. They took one below it. So so if nobody gets that left in, I'll probably give the player left to the Jets, which is John Franklin. I don't know how good he is. We'll see. Or maybe I could give him the right end that's left. Honestly, we'll just have to see. The Texans take a defensive tackle. This ends up being Bilal Nichols, originally drafted by the Bears. The Broncos take a running back. Johns. This ends up being Naheem Hines, originally drafted by the Colts. Now he's on the Broncos. He's on the other horse team. The Browns take a running back. D. Hinton. Okay, this ends up being Chase Edmonds. Another solid, another decent halfback to get. Recognizable. Oh, the Falcons take a fullback. Oh man, these teams taking fullbacks. E. Just have to jot that down. It's probably a nothing burger pick.
The Ravens are now on the clock.
And the Panthers take a halfback. This is Royce Freeman, originally drafted by the Broncos. Now on his way to the Panthers.
Are now on the clock.
Ravens take a center. After this, we'll have one more center up for grabs. This ends up being Brian Allen, originally drafted by the Rams, now by the Ravens.
The Bills are now on the clock.
All right, the Vikings. This ends up being Christian Sam, originally drafted by the Patriots. Now the Vikings.
The Cowboys are now on the clock.
Left guard. This ends up being Will Clapp, originally drafted by the Saints. Now he's with the Bills. Cowboys with the free safety. All right, this is the last free safety I had written down for grabs. This ends up being Foyesade Alukin for the Falcons. He was originally drafted for the Falcons, but now he's with the Cowboys.
The Titans are now on the clock.
Okay, for the Packers, this ends up being Trey Flowers. Trey Flowers is really fucking good, isn't he? Wow, I think this is a diamond in the rough pick for the Packers, I think. And Trey Flowers originally drafted to the Seahawks. Now he's with the Packers. I don't know when Trey Flowers was exactly drafted in the real life draft, but according to ESPN, when I was looking through it, he was ranked the 8th best among all the players that got drafted by ESPN going into the draft. Alright, well, Trey Flowers finds his way on the Packers.
The Patriots are now on the clock.
Okay, this was my last. Okay, this is my second to last right tackle. This ends up being Jamil Demby, originally drafted to the Rams. Now on the Titans.
The Raiders are now on the clock.
The Patriots get a right guard. This is the last right guard I have written down. I'm out of guards. I'm out of left guards. I'm out of right guards. Oh no. But this ends up being Rod Taylor, who was originally drafted by the Bengals. Now he's with those Pats. When is someone going to get a kicker? Doesn't someone need a kicker? Come on.
The Dolphins are
The Raiders take a wide receiver. I still got plenty of them. Man, poor Malik Bird, who ends up being, who is Kiki Toady, that was drafted by the Texans. Like, there's so many guys that have been drafted after him. What the fuck? But this ends up being Dylan Cantrell. He was originally drafted by the Chargers. Now he's with the division rival, the Raiders.
the Browns are now.
And another fullback that is nobody. Another fullback that is nobody. I might just have to make some of these halfbacks fullbacks or something. That is maybe what I might have to do. I don't think I won't. For now, we just have to write that down. All right, Browns,
The Eagles are now.
middle linebacker. So this ends up being Jannard Avery, who was originally drafted by the Browns. Okay, that's the third time this has happened. Originally on the Browns, he's on the Browns, drafted to the Browns still. Browns. We are the Cleveland Browns.
The 49ers are now on the clock.
Eagles take a center. The last center up for grabs in that I have written down. This ends up being Bradley Bozeman, originally drafted to the Ravens. All right, who are we gonna get now? This is probably our second to last pick.
The Chargers are now on the clock.
A middle linebacker. This ends up being Jack Kitchie. C-I-C-H-Y, Jack Kitchie. Originally drafted to the Buccaneers, now he's with the 49ers. Okay.
The Jaguars are now on the clock.
Chargers take a tight end. This ends up being Jordan Atkins, familiar name. Originally drafted to the Texans. Now he's with the Chargers. Over there with Lamar Jackson, but you can't forget about Phillip Rivers. He's still getting it done. I mean, he got his team into the AFC Championship. Damn it.
The Saints are now on the clock.
Left tackle for the Jaguars. Gotta write it down. Dude, this is crazy. I still have right tackle. I still have. Okay, I just have the one right tackle. I just have the one right tackle up for grabs, but I still have a right tackle up for grabs. I have to make him a left tackle. Last pick of the 6th round.
The Redskins are now on the clock.
Damn. Going all the way down to Justin Watson, who was originally drafted to the Buccaneers. Alright, the last round. Who just makes it into the league, at least for now?
The Giants are now on the clock.
The Redskins kick us off with probably their last pick with a wide receiver. Oh damn, we got I guess we got 2 picks here in this last round. This ends up being Richie James, who was originally drafted by the 49ers. Well, the Giants, they take a halfback. This ends up being John Kelly, originally drafted by the Rams. The Bears take a center. I'm out of centers to give. So this one really might be a waste of one. Oh, maybe I'll make some other whatever offensive lineman I have left, if I have any. We'll see. That wasn't drafted. Maybe I'll make that center that guy.
The Dolphins are now on the clock.
Colts take a right guard. I'm out of right guards. I'm out of left and right guards.
The 49ers are now on the clock.
The Dolphins take a left end. They take Finley. I do have one left. This is the second time this has happened, I think. I do have one left, but they took a different one. So I have to write that down for now. If nobody gets him, then it's the first come, first serve. Like if nobody gets this Leighton Reinhardt, then the first team that took a left end that wasn't able to get one will get that player I have associated, which is John Franklin Myers, which he might be someone that got cut instantly anyway. That'd be the Jets. The Jets are in line for that. All right, what about us? What are we gonna do here with this pick? Should have. I'm guessing we still have one more after this though.
The Bengals are now on the clock.
We take another wide receiver. Damn, we took the last wide receiver I had written down, which ends up being Austin Drowell, originally drafted by the Bills. Bengals.
The Lions are now on the clock.
Left end. I don't have any more of them, do I? Oh, okay, nope. The Bengals got them. The Bengals got the one guy I had left, so that's where he's going. He's going to the Bengals. This is John Franklin Myers. Lions.
The Raiders.
They take a tight end. Still have a good few of them left. This ends up being Will Dizzy, originally drafted by the Seahawks. Going to the Lions. Raiders.
The Rams are
Left guard. I'm out of them.
The Cardinals are now on the clock.
The Rams take a right end. This ends up being Kentavious Street, originally drafted by the 49ers. Now he's with our division rivals, the Rams.
The Jets are now on the clock.
Our other division rivals take an outside linebacker for the left side. Then this ends up being Keyshawn Barreria, originally drafted by the Broncos.
The Texans are now on
The Jets take a middle linebacker. This ends up being Sean Dion Hamilton, originally drafted by the Redskins. Sean Dion Hamilton. I guess Hamilton's his last name. I don't know. I guess Sean Dion is his first name. Maybe his first and middle name, but he goes by both Sean and Dion. Sean Dion. Texans.
the Raiders
They take a cornerback. This ends up being Chris Campbell, originally drafted by the Cardinals. Why does that name kind of seem familiar to me? Chris Campbell? Might be familiar for no reason. But he goes to the Texans now. Raiders. Still have plenty of cornerbacks that went in real life that are yet to go. So let's do 5 cornerbacks in a row, game.
The Browns are now
Right outside linebacker. This ends up being Joel Igabuenwe, originally drafted by the Bears. Doesn't get any better as he gets drafted to the Raiders.
the Falcons are now on the clock.
And it's crazy. Like the cornerbacks, I swear the cornerbacks have more or less just gone down a straight line. Maybe they jumped a little bit, but the wide receivers, they've gotten in the second half for the wide receivers, they've gotten to where they were really jumping all over the place. The Browns, they get the next guy on the list. They get Carmen Moore, originally drafted by the Saints. Now he's with the Cleveland Browns. We are the Cleveland Browns.
The Panthers are now on the clock.
And the Falcons get somebody I don't have anybody for. Panthers.
The Ravens are now on the clock.
They take a receiver. I have receivers left. But the Panthers might have just got somebody that I don't have written down. Yeah, I don't have anybody down for this Townsville. And the 49ers just got the receiver that was last listed for me. So I'll write this down now in unmatching players drafted. That I'll make this guy the first receiver I have that didn't get drafted. Turn him into that guy. So that would end up being who Bird is supposed to turn into, which would be Kiki Cootie, whatever.
The Vikings are now on the clock.
Alright, so this ends up being Kylie Fitz. Originally drafted to the Bears. Now with the Ravens.
The Bills are now on the clock.
I have no more centers. I'm just out of offensive linemen. So I think all the offensive linemen, period, that didn't get turned into to anybody are just gonna be wasted picks. And that's just how it's gonna be. So sorry, Ravens or Vikings. Sorry, Vikings. That looks to be a wasted pick.
The Cowboys are now on the clock.
So the Bills take a left tackle. Same deal with him. He makes number 17 of this case. Wasted pick, probably. For him, most definitely.
The Packers are now on the clock.
Cowboys take a right outside linebacker. They take the last one left. Chris Covington, who originally went to the Cowboys. That's number 4. That's the 4th time this has happened. Went to the Cowboys in real life, goes to the Cowboys in this game. Okay. I'm a Cowboys fan, and I'm not familiar with the Chris Covington, so I guess he doesn't amount to much, but he was the last right outside linebacker taken in real life. He's probably the last one taken here. Good chance of it anyway.
The Titans.
Packers take a halfback. This ends up being Bo Scarborough. I wonder if I spelled this right. I was thinking of Bo Scadaboo. Maybe these are two different guys, crazily enough, because I feel like Bo Scadaboo was on the Seahawks. This is Bo Scarborough. Bo Scarborough? He went to the Cowboys in real life, but now he's going to the Packers.
The Patriots are now on the clock.
Titans take a cornerback. What am I looking with safeties and quarterbacks? I have one SS left. Got a good amount of cornerbacks left. I might just turn, if some teams take free safeties or SSs that I don't have anything written down for, I might just turn them into cornerbacks. All the cornerbacks I've listed here are not going to get drafted. Too many of them left. This ends up being Dane Cruikshank, originally drafted to the Titans, and he's with the Titans again. That's number 5.
The Seahawks are now on the clock.
Patriots take a receiver. Patriots receivers and cornerbacks are definitely they take this Bird dude. And that ends up being Cody. I mean, he went before some guys like Valdez Scantlin, and I can't say I know who this guy is. So still might not be a very good pick, but you're just taking long shots with the 7th round. He originally got drafted to the Texans. Now he's with the Patriots.
The Dolphins are now on the
Seahawks get a right outside linebacker, which I'm out of now. Maybe turn him into left outside linebacker. Because I got 3 of them left, so that's probably what'll happen. Just gotta ride him over here to the side for now. Circle back around to that later.
The Buccaneers.
Left tackle. Oh, that's... Alright, so another left tackle that's got to get turned into nothing, I guess. I feel like the Dolphins have somehow had a lot of wasted picks.
The Eagles are now on the clock.
Buccaneers take a tight end. Still got a handful of them left. This ends up being Troy Fumagalli? Troy Fumagalli, originally drafted by the Broncos, now with the Buccaneers.
The 49ers are now on the clock.
Okay, this is the last right tackle I had. This ends up being Corey Cunningham, originally drafted by the Eagles, now with the... originally drafted by the Cardinals, I mean to say, now with the Eagles. Did I say earlier I was out of offensive linemen? Now I am. Now I definitely am. Oh, man. Yeah. Alright, this is our last pick. Who's it going to be?
The Chargers.
And we take another halfback. Good amount of them left. This ends up being Justin Jackson. Originally drafted by the Chargers. Now he's with us, the 49ers. Chargers.
The Dolphins are now on the clock.
Plenty of cornerbacks left. This ends up being Devontae Harris, originally drafted by the Bengals. Now he's with the Chargers. Dolphins end up getting the second to last pick, I guess, from the Jaguars.
The Saints are now on the clock.
This will not be a wasted pick by you, Dolphins. This ends up being Kendrick Norton, originally drafted by the Panthers. Alright, the last pick of the draft. The last pick of the 2018 NFL Draft by the New Orleans Saints. Mr. Irrelevant. Who's it going to be? It's a cornerback. I couldn't even see who it was. Who is this guy? This ends up being, they skipped one guy, they skipped Keon Crossan for Greg Stroman, who was originally drafted by the Redskins. Now you're with the Saints, Mr. Irrelevant. No kickers got drafted. No punters got drafted. That's crazy. Daniel Carson and Jason Sanders end up coming from this draft. The only punter was Michael Dixon. Damn, only one. Okay, now I'm just looking at. I'm looking at these players that I didn't have anybody to match them with. The offensive linemen, I think, are just fucked. There's only one QB drafted. There's only one QB extra. Only one QB extra drafted. Or some of these fullbacks. I think I want to make into running backs, basically. Like the Browns took a fullback. Let's give them the best remaining. Or the highest running back I have. Seriously. Let's give them Elton Smith. Or Ito Smith, I mean. Ito Smith, originally drafted by the Falcons. Now you're with the Browns. I'm going to put, beside that, FB question mark. Well, how am I going to do this? I'm going to have to turn this Ebron guy into him. Alright, the Falcons got a fullback, so they can get the next guy I have listed, which is Jordan Wilking, originally drafted by the Colts. And then the Dolphins took a fullback, so they can get the next guy. They can get Boston Scott. And Okay. Got a couple of left ends here I can make into other players. I got one right end left. Justin Lawler. So the first left end that was drafted will become a right end. And go to the Jets. Alright, the next one is this Finley dude. Alright, the next one is a left end. I'm out of right end, so this next guy can become a defensive tackle. The next defensive tackle I have is Khalil McKenzie. Originally drafted by the Chiefs in real life. So now he can become a Dolphin. A lot of offensive linemen, they're just going to have to be turned into nothing. QB's going to be turned into nothing. Alright, so I have a wide receiver left. And a right offensive linebacker. Well, the one wide receiver... Okay. This wide receiver that got drafted by the Panthers. They can get the best remaining receiver. Which is the number 23 guy I've listed, which is Braxton Berrios. Have him go to the Panthers. He was originally drafted to the Patriots. And this right outside linebacker, I have a left outside linebacker left, so I actually have 3 of them left. The highest one I have listed. The Seahawks got one that I didn't have one for, so they can get the highest one listed here, which is Peter Columbayi. Peter Columbayi. He was originally drafted to the Texans. Now he's with the Seahawks. Okay, and anybody else that I had written down that didn't get drafted, I'll just have to take a look at them. And if their stats are good enough to be in the league today, yada yada, I'll have to adjust their stats, adjust some free agent stats to try and have a team pick them up randomly. Yeah, every quarterback got drafted. There was a couple of halfbacks I had that didn't get drafted. Trenton Cannon and David Williams. Wide receivers. When it was all said and done for wide receivers, there was only 2 that didn't get drafted. Javen Wims and Russell Gage. Oh shit, Russell Gage. He ends up being pretty solid. Okay. That's going to be an interesting free agent pickup. Tight ends. There's 4 of them. Ryan Izzo. Dalton Schultz, who's pretty solid. Will Dizzy. Jordan Thomas. Let's see. Defensive tackles, there's 4 of them. James Looney, Joshua Frazier, Sebastian Joseph, Julian Taylor. Left outside linebackers, I got a couple with Jake Martin and Travin Howard. I think I fucked up here. I made this player a right outside linebacker. But I had some right outside linebackers left. I guess the Seahawks drafted somebody that I didn't have written down. I just fucked up. No, this guy was written down. Raymond Boyle. I just fucked this up. I caught myself now. I don't know what I looked at to fuck this up. No, I had this guy written down. We'll have to fix this then. So Raymond Boyle becomes okay. No, I had him written down, but I didn't have. There was only 10 right outside linebackers that got drafted in real life this year, so he was the 11th guy, so that's why. No, I'm fine. I'm fine then. Middle linebackers, there was a lot I had here. The game only had 13 that could get drafted, but in real life there was 15 drafted here, so I had to write a couple of guys down that had nobody that could get turned into them. Middle linebackers, there's a total of 7 guys. In real life there was 15 guys that got drafted, but in this game there was only 8 guys. So the 7 guys that didn't get drafted were Andre Smith, Jawan Bentley, Azim Victor, Kenny Young, Quentin Poling, Matthew Adams, and Zaire Franklin. What? Zaire Franklin or Zaire Franklin, not sure. Cornerbacks, when it was all said and done with that long list. There were 6 guys not to get drafted. Keon Crossan, Jermaine Carter, Cornell Armstrong, Simeon Thomas, Jermaine Kelly, and Devontae Downs. an SS safety. There's one guy to not get drafted, Marcel Harris. 2 kickers not to get drafted. Like no kickers or punters at all got drafted in this game's draft. The 2 kickers, Daniel Carson, Jason Sanders. The punter, Michael Dixon. So I just wanted to see if these players are already added to their respective teams. They have been. So now comes another long part. I gotta turn all these players and transform them into their real life counterparts. This guy will be turned into he'll be turned into Josh Allen. Like, it's crazy, like it really is crazy that Madden gives you all this freedom. I really don't want to go too fucking, like, I don't think I'm gonna mess with any of this, like, with any of the players, honestly. Like, I'm not gonna go too crazy. I don't want to be here for years doing this. But little by little, I'll work on this. The main thing: change their names, numbers, handedness, maybe, especially with the quarterbacks. I don't even know if I want to change college. Maybe, I guess I will. Maybe player types with the quarterbacks. Height, weight, skin and face, yeah. No, I'm not gonna mess with equipment. Maybe with the quarterbacks, I'll mess with their QB style, maybe, and obviously their ratings. And especially with the quarterbacks, their player traits. The quarterbacks, I'm probably gonna, like, some of these things, like other players might not have, but the quarterbacks I'll probably go harder with. And I'm not gonna mess with their contracts. I need to make sure I do all, like, I'm change all these players before advancing the week, because players might instantly get cut when I advance the week. Okay. Next time you see me, all my work will be done. Who knows when that'll be. But until then, I'm gonna make sure I save real quick. But I won't put you through that until the next season begins.